Good evening. I'm Dr. Patty Erjavik. I'm the president here at Pueblo Community College. And on behalf of Pueblo Community College and the Center for New Media, it's my privilege to welcome you here this evening for a great opportunity to hear from several of our candidates this evening. I'd like to thank the Pueblo Chieftain and especially Steve Henson, who is providing this rich opportunity for good discussion and an opportunity for you to hear from all of the candidates. And how many, what number is this now?
This is the 7th or 8th debate this year.
7th or 8th so far. So let's give him a big round of applause for making sure that our community has the knowledge that they need to make good informed choices. So without further ado, I would like to turn this program over to Mr. Henson. And again, on behalf of all of us, welcome and thank you to the Pueblo Chieftain for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Erjavik. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's debate for the State House District 47 seat. I want to talk a little bit about the rules so that you can follow along with what the candidates will be doing. Each candidate will have 4 minutes to introduce himself or herself to you, to ask for your vote, explain their qualifications for office, and then we'll have a series of questions and answers. Questions and answers have been prepared by the staff at the Chieftain. We don't take questions from the audience. The reason is we've had some really bad experiences through the years in which people have ambushed candidates with really difficult and probably inappropriate questions, and in the environment we're in today, we're just not going to take that chance. So feel free to talk to the candidates one-on-one afterwards, or contact them outside of this venue if you have a question that we don't ask this evening, and that's very likely. The rules, so that's the rules for them, and the rules for all of us is to behave. It's fine to hoop and holler and clap for the candidate of your choice. That's great. We want you to support them. But we also ask that you show respect for the other candidate. You know, it's inappropriate to boo or hiss or interrupt or shout out your opinion on the question. If you want to do that, feel free to take out some petitions and run for office. These are the 2 people who've had the courage to run for office, who've been willing to go through the process and sacrifice their personal lives and time to serve us in office. They deserve our respect, and we're going to insist on it. So, I know that sounds like a lecture, and I'm sorry, but this is just the time that we're in these days. And so we really would ask you to give both candidates equal opportunity to say what they want to say. So we flipped the coin, and Don won the coin toss. So he will conclude the event tonight. So we'll begin the event with Buentello.
Hi everyone, thank you so much to PCC for hosting this event. Thank you to Pueblo Chieftain for putting it on, and thank you Steve for hosting it today. I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak to you guys here today. My name is Buentello, as Steve mentioned before, and I'm the Democrat who's running for House District 47. This campaign started 18 months ago when I was teaching Algebra 1. I'm a special education teacher, but I also teach 3 sections of math as part of my job. And on this particular occasion, when I was teaching, it was early September, and like Pueblo is known to do, it topped over 100 degrees on this particular day. And I looked out at my classroom and I realized that every single child that I was trying to teach was asleep, or uncomfortable, or visibly sweating, because the classroom that I was teaching in topped 85 degrees that particular day, because the classroom that I teach in doesn't have air conditioning. In fact, we don't even have window blinds because the school cannot afford them. The school district budget cannot afford it. Later on that week, when I went to go plug in my laptop that I had paid for out of my own money so that I could do my job to the best of my capability, I almost got electrocuted just trying to plug in the laptop. I saw the sparks fly, and then the entire wing of my building was out of electricity. I had short-circuited it just by plugging in my laptop, because the electrical grid hasn't been updated since the 1970s. And that's just one building that I'm standing in. There's another one on the south side. We have a building that is literally falling in on our children. We have textbooks that are missing whole pages, if not chapters. We teach them on computers that I used for 15 years ago. We're failing our kids by choosing not to invest in them. And I thought it was time somebody stepped up to the plate for our kids. So I filed to run for House District 47. I didn't want to be a single issue candidate, so I spent the last 18 months, give or take a month, putting over 31,000 miles on my Jeep. Because House District 47, in case you're curious, is 162 miles one way. And I learned a lot over the course of that time. I went to manufacturing sector partnership meetings, I attended Chamber of Commerce mixers, I visited other schools, and more than that, I listened to families. And here's what I learned. I learned that our schools up and down this district in southern Colorado are getting shortchanged. And because of that, we're failing our kids. There are little to no jobs in the area when our kids graduate high school. And our water is getting shipped up to subsidized Denver growth at every point in turn. Frankly, not only literally drying up our counties, but selling out our farmers and our ranchers. Healthcare is so bad that if you have a stroke in Otero County, odds are you will be medevaced out to Colorado Springs or Denver. Things are not great. We need somebody who's going to step up to the plate, who's going to fight for us. My kid goes to the same public schools as your kids. I teach in these public schools. I drink the same water. I have to go to the same doctors. And when my husband got out of the U.S. Army, we were looking for a job too. For a while. It was hard. Because of that, my campaign motto is families first, because I always want to fight for you guys, the families. My name's Buentello, and I'd love your support.
And we'll now have opening remarks from Bendell.
Good evening, everybody, including my wife, Dr. Janet Bendell, and my son, one of my sons, Sergeant First Class Brent Bendell of the 10th Special Forces Group, who's sitting there, and 3 of my little granddaughters. I have 11 grandchildren. 3 of my beautiful granddaughters are here today, Tyler, Cammie, and Logan, or Lolo. I'm Don Bendell, the Republican candidate for House District 47, and I'm running for this office because I've been in leadership positions my entire adult life. As a former U.S. Army Special Forces captain, or Green Beret captain, and a disabled Vietnam veteran, combat veteran, I've always believed that more of us veterans should get involved in government leadership. I have a master's degree in leadership from Grand Canyon University, and I have a business degree from Colorado Christian. And I also am a rancher, and I've owned and operated karate schools for decades, many decades. In fact, I have 52 years experience in the martial arts, and I'm also a best-selling author. I can and will be the mouthpiece for Southern Colorado, families and small businesses in Denver, because we go unnoticed up there. They forgot about us. I'm going to make sure they don't. We have issues here in Fremont, Otero, and Pueblo counties with water and other agricultural challenges, jobs, taxes, school safety, and opioid crisis, school choice, mental illness, veterans problems, the Second Amendment. And I have solutions for all these. And speaking of the Second Amendment, I'm very proud to not only be a life member, but I'm endorsed by the NRA. Friends, we simply cannot afford to let the business as usual bureaucrats and their dangerous agenda turn Colorado into another version of California. I'm not some wide-eyed, idealistic young person with very limited real-world experience in one area, owing favors to unions, special interests, ambulance chasers, and the highest bidder. I'm my own man, but I'm willing to be your man, your strong voice in Denver. And I have a lifetime of not only successes, but failures too, that I learned from in the real world. My opponent will promise you many things tonight, and she will mean every word of it too. She's very sincere. However, if she went to Denver, she would have to toe the party line, or nobody in her party will vote or second anything that she proposes. She would be in the infamous Denver Democratic doghouse. I'm a former Green Beret and a 10th degree black belt. How many people do you think are going to bully me around in Denver? Nobody, that's who. I will be governed by Christian morality and conservative ideals, but I will be working for you, the voters, and I'll put all my efforts into fulfilling what you tell me is important to each of you. Send me to Denver with your vote. I'm one of the infamous old white guys. I'm a senior citizen. I don't have that much time to waste. I'll be working harder than everybody and anybody in Denver for you. Thank you very much, and please vote for me. My name is Don Bendell.
Okay, we'll now begin the question and answer portion. And Brianna, you'll handle this one first. Give us your assessment of the challenges facing Pueblo and what you are going to do to address them.
You know, I think our first problem here in southern Colorado is that our schools are simply not funded. I talk about making bricks without straw. The fact of the matter is we're not giving our kids the tools to succeed, and it's really no surprise when they have a tough time in the job market, because the few jobs that are here in southern Colorado are not the kind of jobs that, frankly, you can raise a family on. I am extremely proud to be the candidate who is endorsed by the Colorado Association of Commerce and Industry, as well as the National Federation for Independent Businesses. For my plans to bring jobs to southern Colorado, I think the way we go about this is by fully funding and supporting vocational and technical education and training, so that we give our kids not only the education but the skills that they need to compete in a 21st century global economy. And we do this by working together with community colleges like the one we're sitting in right now, or OJC out in La Junta. I also believe that water is a critical issue, and one that is rapidly coming to the forefront as millions continue to pour into Colorado, and our water continues to get shipped up north to the highest bidder, drying out whole counties and frankly killing our agricultural way of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A lot of young, inexperienced legislators go to Denver gung-ho, and they're going to enact this bill and that bill and this bill and that bill. I'm not only going to enact bills to better your life and to better the quality of your life, but I'm going to Denver with a big pair of scissors because there's red tape that needs to be cut, and that's one of the biggest problems facing not only Pueblo, but Otero County and Fremont County. It's facing all of Colorado. It's government getting into our lives. Too many regulations. We are over-regulated, and we're told how to live our lives and what to do. My opponent's party believes that government can solve your problems. My party believes cut taxes, cut red tape, get rid of a lot of the regulations, and let people make their own decisions on how to run their lives, take care of their children. And I do agree, education's important, and that's where my experience and my education and my background comes into play, because I have a lot of plans that will work on school safety to prevent mass shootings. I spent 50-some years teaching children how not to be bullied. I'm very passionate about it. And teaching women how not to be assaulted or beat up by abusive significant others or spouses. I believe very strongly in those things. And I can help prevent school shootings. So none of us have to worry like I worry about my grandchildren on that horrible thing that's been happening in our society. Those are a couple of the key things that I'll be working on. Thank you.
Brianna, rebuttal? Would you like a rebuttal?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Don, anything else on that topic?
No.
Okay. Okay, Don, you'll answer this question first. The legislature plays a large role in addressing road and transportation issues. How do we get more attention for our roads here in southern Colorado?
Well, anybody that pays attention to the roads and bridges in southern Colorado and the rest of Colorado, I want you to think about what a great job the government has done taking care of them when you entertain the idea of introducing government-run health care. I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran, and I am on government-run health care. Have you heard the horror stories about the VA? I deal with those things all the time. One of my sons deals with those things all the time, and I hope this son doesn't have to. But being a Green Beret, like me, he might. And, you know, it's just frustrating. The roads and bridges are absolutely, infrastructure is something that legislatures have to deal with, and that's a place where we don't want to cut taxes. Those are necessary taxes to take care of roads and bridges. And I will do my best to try to get the focus off the Denver metro complex and the I-25 corridor in Denver and get it on southern Colorado where we have Highway 50 and other important transportation lines and lines of communication that need to be repaired.
So like I said, since I've announced I've put 31,000 miles on the Jeep, it's a lot of oil changes, and probably most aggravatingly, I've chipped my windshield not once, not twice, 4 times since I've announced, right? It's making me a little crazy. When you talk about Highway 50, I think infrastructure, I think House District 47 in particular relies on Highway 50, not just as a means of transportation, but really to support our agricultural way of life. You talk to any farmer out on the mesa, any farmer or rancher going out into Otero County, every single one of them will tell you that they rely on Highway 50 to get their products from point A to point B. It's the way they live their lives and make a living. And I'm not naive enough to think that I alone am going to go up to Denver and claim the syllables or the symbols until somebody pays attention to southern Colorado. I think that being a good team player and working with other representatives like Representative Valdez, Representative Escar, and Senator Garcia and Senator Crowder is what's going to make sure that southern Colorado is not forgotten. Because we will do better work as a delegation more than anything else. I've already talked a lot on this topic with Bill Tebow, and you know, if I'm elected, I really look forward to fighting to ensure that not only does Highway 50 stay where it is, and not only is it maintained to the extent that it should be, but that it's eventually expanded, because you know, that's the key to economic development right there. Thank you.
Don, any other thoughts on that topic?
No, thank you.
Okay. Brianna, you'll answer this question first. President Trump's administration has made a priority of tougher enforcement on illegal immigration, threatening to withhold federal funds from states that don't fully cooperate. What's your position?
You know, I think particularly here in southern Colorado, we rely on immigrant labor for agriculture. And you know, my biggest concern would be, how is this going to impact the immigrant labor program that so much of not only the Mesa, but truly all of Otero County relies on? Right now we have whole fields of crops that are staying on the vine and wasting because they don't have the labor to pick them. I also think that, you know, our local police and local sheriff's office have a lot better things to do, particularly here in Pueblo, than to do the federal government's bidding. We have a serious crime problem here. I think it's fair to say that. And I think that our resources would be best used, not doing the bidding of the federal government, but working on fighting actual crime here. Thank you.
Don?
According to the FBI, in February of 2018, Pueblo, Colorado is the most violent city in the state of Colorado. That's unacceptable. And one of the reasons for that is because of the crime that has been increased because of illegal immigration. We are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. I believe very strongly in Ellis Island, the Statue of Liberty, and the long-standing tradition in America to learn our language, to learn our customs, to learn about our Constitution, and take pride when you raise your hand and give that oath and become an American citizen. I am totally against sanctuary cities. And I didn't really hear what my opponent felt about sanctuary cities. I'm totally against sanctuary cities. I'm totally against Colorado being a sanctuary state, which I've heard credited to my opponent as well. I would like to hear her thoughts on that, if she believes in that as well. But I just do not believe in illegal immigration. This is a nation of laws. We have laws. We are governed by laws. I'm a Vietnam veteran. If you believed Hollywood movies, every time I had a problem, I'd go out and shoot people. Well, I don't. Guess what? Yesterday, millions and millions of members of the NRA shot nobody. Thank you.
Before we do rebuttals, whether it's obscenity or eloquence, keep your ideas to yourself. We're letting these candidates talk. Feel free to run for office anytime. In the meantime, we want to hear them talk. Thank you. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Don, you'll answer this question first. Colorado has reduced its prison population in the past decade, while county jails have continued to be overcrowded. But now the forecast calls for state prisons to be overcrowded by 1,100 inmates in the next year. What do you think we should do about this mess?
Well, that's a very good question. Fort Lyons is a good example. Fort Lyons was turned into a homeless shelter. And a lot of creative ideas can be used with empty buildings. The sad thing is that we have empty buildings. And if we have a conservative governor and we have a conservative state house, then you're going to have lower taxes and you're going to have increased unemployment. I'm sorry, it works. President Trump and his administration has proven that. It works. And when you have more jobs, you have more income, you have a broader economic base. And you have a broader tax base, even though you have less taxes. And no, conservatives don't want to tax the wealthy. Conservatives want to tax fairly. And when you say the wealthy and the 150,000 a year, 200,000 a year, you're talking about people that provide jobs to ordinary people. These are small business owners, and they provide 90-some% of the jobs in this country. Small business owners do. They aren't wealthy. That money is spent on employees and improvements and trying to take care of government regulations. Anybody that's owned businesses like I have dealt with the hell of dealing with the government and government regulations. And one of the reasons I want to go to Denver is to get government off your back. Thank you.
So this is another example of Gallagher tying the hands of our communities and really, again, cheating us out of another form of infrastructure. The Otero County Jail based in Wahana is a prime example of overcrowding right now to the point where it's dangerous. There's no other way to put it. I believe, first and foremost, that we need to get rid of the worst effects of Gallagher, number one. Two, these prisons will create jobs. Fremont County, I don't remember the number offhand, but obviously the prisons out in Fremont County account for a significant portion of employment and therefore income for that area, among them being friends and family of my own. I think that our state should invest in expanding these prisons and ensuring that not only are these people given a fair chance to repay their debt to society, but that they're safe doing it. And hopefully recidivism, if we invest properly in their education and their health care, and ensuring that they have opportunities after they have served their time, recidivism also goes down by every single study credible. And just a small plug out there, I think it's important that we support our Department of Corrections employees because dangerous understaffing is scary, not only to the employees, but also to their families. You have to remember that these men and women, they have families that are worried about them because they work in a prison every single day and they cannot stay up 16, 18 hours a day guarding these people without stress, without getting exhausted on the job. It's bad policy for prisoners and bad policy for guards.
I've been in the Otero County Jail with a video camera videotaping the horrible disrepair, and it's just as bad in the Pueblo County Jail. However, and both sheriffs are friends, and the Fremont County Sheriff and the new Fremont County Sheriff we're going to have are friends, because all the candidates there are friends of mine. That's not the job of the state legislature to take care of county jails. That's the job of the sheriffs and the county commissioners. Our future governor and I are privately meeting with some people from DOC talking about the issues there. Starting with having the executive leadership in Colorado Springs, away from Fremont County where most of the prisons are, in a crystal palace with an indoor waterfall in the foyer. What's that about? That's not taking care of employees. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, the state budget is responsible for the prisons in this state. There's no mistake about it. A state legislator's job, part of it is to set priorities and to make sure that the district is being taken care of. Otero County Jail and the prisons in this district all rely on state funds. And the very real penalty that happens if they are left out in the wind year after year after year is dangerous understaffing and dangerous overcrowding. That means real people will get hurt. Thank you.
Okay, Brianna, you'll answer this one first. Is there anything the legislature can do to reduce the danger of school shootings and other gun-related violence?
I I was a really big fan of the bill that Senator Crowder passed this last time around that helped set aside some money for additional school resource officers and school security. You know, I think there is a very complex, multifaceted problem in this country with school shootings. You know, you're getting into conversations about mental illness and topics that are hard for us to address. It's true. I'm very tired of my autistic 8-year-old boy doing active shooter drills. I am tired of having to do it once a quarter with my own special education students in the high school. And if I'm elected to serve as your state legislator, I'm going to make school safety a priority because my kid goes to these schools too, because I've worked in these schools for years now. Thank you.
Again, this is another area where my many years of experience, my education prepares me to help make schools much safer. First of all, on the subject of mental illness, then Senator Joe Biden proposed a new law, which was signed into law by Republican President George H.W. Bush, and that was to put signs up around schools that said this is a gun-free zone. Well, for cowardly sociopaths and psychopathic killers, that's like a welcome mat to do school shootings. The first thing that's going to happen, as far as I'm concerned, those signs are going to come down. And people are going to have more Second Amendment rights, stronger Second Amendment rights, and there will be armed teachers that are not loose cannons in each school that have taken classes on gun safety and gun control. There's an outstanding program that has been introduced now, and a lot of teachers are taking that program on preventing school shootings and learning how to handle a firearm and being armed, and I strongly favor that. School safety officers as well. The average response to a 911 call in cities is over 12 minutes. And we have a lot of rural areas in our district. So this is an area where I can help a lot. I've spent 50-some years teaching people how to stay safe. I'm an expert at it. Thank you.
Let's see. Don, you'll answer this one first. What are your ideas on reducing the problems of heroin and opioid addiction?
Well, one of the bills that I plan on introducing, there's a synthetic fentanyl, which is an opioid, that has been imported from China. And I plan on introducing a bill to outlaw such drugs. They're not regulated in their own countries when they're made. They're just sent here to make money. So that's one of the bills that I plan on introducing. And my opponent mentioned mental health, and she's correct on that. I plan on addressing mental health a lot because mental health and opioid addiction are tied in together. I also believe very strongly in 12-step programs. They've been very successful in the United States over the years, and I'm going to encourage the formation of more one-step groups, although that's their business to do. That's a volunteer thing. And that's one difference between my opponent and me, like on providing jobs. I don't believe government should dictate everything that's done, and government isn't responsible for everything that's being done. Government needs to stay out of our business a lot too. Thank you.
I think the excuse me. I think the number one thing that we have to talk about here in Pueblo County, and we're starting to have this conversation, is that we have an opioid crisis. And this has been caused by a lot of factors, but let's be blunt about something. The overprescription of opioids has been single-handedly the largest contributing factor to this crisis that has been brought to our doorstep and is now killing thousands every single year. And it's going to get worse, unfortunately, before it's going to get better. 7 years, I believe, is the study that I read last. After you start a targeted treatment program, it takes the community 7 years before you start to see any kind of decrease in overdose deaths. I believe our community is already taking good steps, proactive steps. I'm very proud to call Dr. Michael Nierenberg a friend and somebody who has helped me learn about this very real problem plaguing this district. I think the heart of, at the real heart of this problem is our lack of any real resources to treatments. I proudly supported the treatment center that was proposed on this last year's ballot. Unfortunately, that failed. I would make it a priority as a state legislator to make sure that treatment center became a reality, because the fact of the matter is this is another one of those chances where we need to invest right now in treatment centers, or we will pay far more in our emergency rooms, in our jails, in human lives if we do not invest in these treatment centers. Thank you.
That's a very familiar cry of Democrats. If we do not do this investment, it's not an investment. That's another expression that Democrats use for, I want to increase your taxes more. We're taxed to death. You don't have to throw government money, which comes from us, at every issue. There are other ways to handle issues. There are 7 hospitals in Denver which are part of a 12-part government study on opioid addiction. They are using alternative methods to deal with pain, and I applaud that very much. I am a 100% disabled veteran. I have osteoarthritis. I work out every single day. I do that to manage pain. I only take extra strength Tylenol. Thank you.
You know, addiction is a real disease, and the fact of the matter is that nearly 1/3 of all the addicts, including the ones sitting on the street, are veterans. You want to talk about failing our veterans? Our lack of investment in their treatment and in their care, and in seeing them as some sort of, I don't know, helpless, or as though they made a choice. And, you know, I believe I've heard you actually on other stages before reference your own encounters with addiction. So I'm surprised to hear that you have so little sympathy for these other veterans and for these addicts. Addiction is a serious medical problem. And until we start treating it as such, and until we start with other programs like the one that Mr. Bendell over there referenced, put on by Kaiser Permanente, that look into alternative pain management methods, until we invest in our community and in these other people, and I'm going to call them people because that's what they are, people. They are patients, and we can't forget that. Thank you.
More round of rebuttals on this topic. Don? Go ahead.
Yes. I have done more for disabled veterans than my opponent would be able to do in the next 30 years. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. His brother is a 100% disabled veteran. He broke his back in 4 places in Halo School after successful numerous tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's been in Iraq and Afghanistan 15 to 20 times, and he's had I don't know how many surgeries as a Green Beret serving our nation and serving in the cause of freedom. Nobody believes more strongly in veterans than I do. My wife is also a veteran, a former captain in the U.S. Army who served in Germany, a Vietnam era veteran. So I think saying that I don't care about veterans or I'm insensitive to that, it's kind of silly. I'm the one that sits all day long in the VA hospital and the VA clinic waiting to get treated. I'm one of those guys that deals with that. Thank you.
And yet you would leave these, I'm going to call them what they are, addicted veterans who have been overprescribed dangerous drugs, dangerous opioids, when they return home with very real physical and mental illness hanging in the wind, because after all, it was their choice to try drugs. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. Brianna, you'll answer this one first. Marijuana has brought revenue, but also some problems to our state. What is your take on the marijuana industry's future in Colorado?
You know, I'm not a particularly big fan, but well, the reality is that marijuana is now a constitutionally recognized industry in the state of Colorado, for better or for worse. I think we have seen an uptick in certain social problems because of its legalization, but that's not what I'm here to talk about tonight. I think we need to start treating it like the business that the voters have agreed that it is. It's why it's so heavily regulated, it's why it's so heavily taxed, and frankly, you know, it's a pretty big factor of our own economic development here in southern Colorado. I think it's important that the next state legislator treat it like the industry that it really is, and no different from any other business. Thank you.
I have a very beautiful, very sweet 14-year-old granddaughter sitting right there in a wheelchair, and she's smiling, and she smiles all day long every day, but she's in pain. And she's been through numerous surgeries. She may have to go on medical marijuana, and I totally support that. I think medical marijuana prescribed by qualified, certified doctors is a good thing. They've proven that. As far as recreational marijuana, it doesn't matter what I think. We have a constitution which I will swear to uphold in the state, to obey the laws and to support the laws of the state. So my personal opinion on recreational marijuana doesn't matter. What matters is 55% of the voters in this state said make it legal. And now there are business owners, legitimate business owners, who have a right to run their business and have the red tape cut and the taxes cut just like every other business owner, like mechanics, like car dealers, like grocery store owners. If you own a business, government has become the enemy. They want to put handcuffs on you. I told you I'm taking big scissors. Well, they're also going to be bolt cutters because I want to cut those handcuffs. I want to untie things for you and make life easier. Thank you.
I'm also proud to be the endorsed candidate from the National Federation of Independent Business Owners. And I'm going to be proud to fight for small business if I'm chosen to be your next state legislature, including marijuana businesses. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my opponent likes to talk about all our endorsements. The endorsements that I care about is the one that's going to come November 6th, and also my endorsement by the NRA. That one's important to me because I believe strongly in the Second Amendment. But have you ever seen these NASCAR drivers that race cars and they have these coveralls and they have patches all over their coveralls showing who their sponsors are? I think certain legislators or wannabe legislators like my opponent, they should have to wear coveralls that have all of those people that endorse them to show who they've sold out to, who they're going to be beholding to when they get into Denver. I'm not going to be beholding to anybody but you, the voters. My donations and my campaign have come primarily from the average citizen. you're allowed to donate up to $400 per person. And that's, most of my people have been 5, 20, 10, and so on.
Moving on to the final question, Don, it's your turn. Voters approved the County 1A money for a variety of projects, and it's banking on money that will be coming in a couple of years from tax revenues they were tax incentives offered to new businesses. The county's considering and looking at borrowing money now to get some of those projects started. Do you think that that's a good thing to do?
Well, first of all, I'm not running for county commissioner. What county commissioners do is their business. When people talk to me about, this is my big concern, Steve. When I go to Denver and somebody gives me a great idea and we say we only have to add one more penny on our sales tax and we can get this taken, you know, there's tons of good ideas and I care about everybody. I am a Christian as far as my religious beliefs. I believe in people and I love people. But it's not government's job to fix all of our problems. And increasing our taxes is not going to fix all our problems, just like schools. We actually have more money than we've ever had for schools. It's the distribution, the teachers, as my opponent said, and the classroom don't get the money, administrative perks, and more people working in the administration.